Can I share my screen?
Yes, you should be
Oh,
able to.
not-
I
let
made
me
you a
in. Okay.
co-host.
Excellent. You should be seeing something that looks awfully familiar.
Yep,
Okay,
perfect.
very good. Is the font size big enough?
I can see it just fine.
Okay.
Anyone
Please
else, you can
even
let
let
us
me
know in the
know.
chat if you
Yeah.
are having any trouble.
I think I have it set at 124. Yeah, 124. So I just like to make sure that
Yeah, makes
it's
sense
good
to
for
me.
all.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Brown. I'm the Assistant Manager of Reference for St. Louis County Library, and you're here to learn about Reference Solution. We have Bill Carlson here. Excuse me, sorry, Bill.
No
And
relation to Johnny.
and I'll let him talk a little bit more about himself as we get started. So, Bill, you can go ahead and take over.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for making time today to join us. So, Data Axle Reference Solutions is our product. Data Axle is our company parent. Gosh, we have been Data Axle has been in business 51 years now. I've been with the company going on 16. Started off in the reference division and have continued to work in that area. In fact, the uh, platform that I'm showing you today, this is the fourth version of that system since I started working for the company here almost 16 years ago now. So we do continue to try and evolve, make additional types of data available, or make additional filters available that anyone could use in order to bring up or get to that ultimate information that's most important to them. And we know that a lot of library patrons will use the database for marketing leads or sales leads, also perhaps to do some research on competitors, right? Could certainly do that with the database. And those could be competitors that are in your immediate area or anywhere in the United States. If you were marketing, across the US, obviously you can look at any geography in our database as it relates to that. So we compile all of this information in Omaha, and then we go through various update schedules for the different modules that we make available. So quickly, we have 8 of those modules here. The US Business Database, this is being updated each and every week. So we have a system in place when it's time to start calling a business to verify them. The first thing that kind of triggers that event is when the phone books come out. We still use those today. We get them digitally these days. We bump that up against our current database. Anything that was a duplicate would get rejected. Anything that was a business that we did not have at that address would get added. And then we begin this calling campaign. So we call those businesses once a year, but we're pushing those updates out live every Thursday into Friday morning. So 52 times a year, this is being updated. Whereas our historical business information, and you may definitely want to look at that particular module as well. The nice thing is they all search the same way. And the reason I mention that is if you are considering maybe a new location for your business, or maybe you're thinking about opening another location, you could go into that address and then you could do a block or a 2 block radius around that location to see if over time, from that historical perspective, if that area has been stable over time, or have there been a lot of businesses coming and going, maybe not such a terrific location. So you could certainly use the database for that kind of search if need be. This information is being updated at the beginning of each and every new month. I won't talk much about the jobs other than this is a relationship that we have with Indeed, and they get us that information on those job openings daily. We have the U.S. new businesses, not nearly as robust as what you'll see with the U.S. business database. We're getting this from the Secretary of State's filings that we get weekly, also get that from utility hookups as well as postal processing. So when mail starts to go to that address, we're updating this universe weekly. That marginal information will remain in here for 1 year. But as soon as we're able to get them verified, which is typically within 30 to 45 days, we will give them a full record in the U.S. business database. But you can look at this from a historical standpoint, going back a few months, if you would like to see the different types of businesses, new businesses that might be coming online in a given geography. Our U.S. healthcare, our standard white pages, and our consumer lifestyles, which I'll talk more about here, that information is all being updated monthly. And then our U.S. new movers, new homeowners. This is some terrific data that we make available. We have a license agreement with the United States Postal Service's National Change of Address. So if your business would benefit from knowing about new people who've come into your community, this is the tool to use. That can be a great resource for you. It's updated weekly, and we'll keep them, just like with the U.S. new businesses, we'll keep them in this universe for 1 year. I do want to point out we offer webinars, so if anybody would like to attend any of those, we have several that we offer, can certainly do so. Under the Learning Center, I do like to point this out because it's one thing you'll have this recording, but you can also utilize, if you would like, we have under this Marketing and Training Material tab, these flyers that you might find useful and or these database overviews. So I would suggest, if you would like, obviously reviewing some of that information, our contact information is here. You can certainly work directly with the library, or you can feel free to reach out to us as well. And then if you would ever like to know about new information, new filters that have been added, new data that's been added, go to this release section. That's updated each and every month, in which we would roll something new out. So certainly take advantage of that and review to see if there's anything new that's been added that might be useful for you. And then I do like to point out the personal accounts. We give you the option, and it is an additional step. So to get access to Data Axle Reference Solutions, you would go through the St. Louis County Libraries Systems website and find our link. Once you've done so and logged in, you would be on this homepage and you would see the St. Louis County logo here. You would then, if you've already registered, you would then log in using whatever email address and password you may have chosen to use that for access. The beauty of that is you can save your searches. So if you've done some business searches and you wanted to save those because you'd like to come back to them at some point in time, feel free to do so. You could do that. No limits. The only module that you can't save in the personal accounts would be the jobs and internships. Since this is being updated daily, it didn't make sense to have somebody save something this morning that might then go away by this afternoon or tomorrow. So other than that, though, all of these other modules can be saved and you can come back to them at whatever point in time. I did mention that with the U.S. Business Database, since this is being updated 52 times a year, if you've saved a search and wanted to come back to that, and let's say it's been a couple of months, you may have some new records available to you in that saved search. We'll always give you the latest and greatest that we have at that point in time whenever you come back in. So with that said, let me launch the U.S. Business Database. We'll start with that one. No matter which module you come into, you'll always come to this quick search page. As you can see, you could hunt for a company by name if you would like. You could look for an executive. Maybe there was an executive that you knew at a company and you'd learn that they've left, but you're not certain where they've gotten off to. You could certainly try and find that executive by that first name, last name. You can look at all businesses in any given city, state, or even do a reverse phone number lookup if you needed to for a business. I do like to show this option, and I'll do this real quick here, just using St. Louis. So there's my St. Louis, and I'll grab Mo here. Where are you at, Mo? I know you're right down there somewhere. Oh, I just about missed you. So whenever I'm going to view results from this quick search, they're only going to be our verified records. We do have unverified records and closed businesses that you can get to, but you can only get to those from advanced search. So when I'm in quick search, these are my verified records across St. Louis, of which there are 54,000 plus businesses that are available, that are verified records. The tool I want to show you is this charts tool, because it's important that you understand how we categorize all these businesses. And that's what this chart will do for us, at least the initial blush. First blush is based on this coding system. So all businesses, whether they're nonprofits or for-profit, government agencies, schools, etc., they'll all have an SIC code. If you're not familiar with this, that's the Standard Industrial Classification Code. It's an old coding system that, as far as Uncle Sam is concerned, it's been retired in place of the NAICS codes. This is the North American Industrial Classification Systems Code. We've kept the SIC codes going because we've made them more granular than they ever were when in use by Uncle Sam. We've made them a 6-digit number, as noted here with physicians and surgeons. Under Uncle Sam, they were only a 4-digit number at maximum length. Ours is a minimum of 6 and a maximum of 9, and I'll show you what that looks like. So looking at the St. Louis area, these 18,597 that are part of that 54,000 plus, my top 7 is made up of physicians, attorneys, nurse practitioners, and 4th position would be restaurants, kiosks, ATM machines. And I like to point these 2 out specifically. A lot of times businesses won't necessarily want those records included in their output, and I'll show you how those could be excluded if you would like as well. Then the last position would be churches. So we give you this top 7, and then we give you a full report, always listing that primary SIC code that that business is under. So think about Walmart, for example. We know that they have groceries, we know that they have automotive, we know that they have pharmacy, but their primary line of business is that of a department store because of all those different departments. So we'll always give you the primary SIC code, the description for it, and then the number of records that apply. And you can get to these. If I wanted to get to this group of churches, I could just click on that 1,000 and it will take me to that group. So no, you can even move around to get to our records from that chart. And let me go back and show you what else the chart will give you. So not only does it give you all of this information about these businesses based on that SIC code or NAICS, you could break it down by the zip codes if you needed to. Maybe that's more important to you. And Grant, we're looking at the entire community. You could be looking at a smaller area and break it down this way. It's all up to you how you want to do that. We'll also give you that breakdown based on the sales volume. So we'll give you these various ranges that you could select from, or certainly the number of employees. So sales volumes and number of employees, those are our 2 size factors that you could use. Great way to be able to do that. All of this information can be printed off, or it can be made part of a PowerPoint presentation if you'd like to. I mentioned earlier that I do a lot of work with SCORE and small business development centers. They would have you, in this case, utilizing this information for your business plan. So great access to this kind of insight real quickly. And I got to all of this by simply putting in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was all provided to me. Most of the time, you're probably going to go right to advanced search. You'll probably bypass the quick search altogether. Additional filters is the back door into advanced search. So when you select either of those, it will then give you this next page with these various options that you could use as filters in order to drive in the kind of information that might be most important to you. And as you can see, there are a good number of filters. Now, by no means are you going to need to select all of these, right? That would be overkill. I would say on average, people are probably using between 3 to maybe 6 of these filters total. We'll always give you, for example, we'll always give you company name, and you saw under quick search where you could look for one company. Guess what? This allows you to search for multiple companies. So if you wanted to look at certain companies, maybe IBM were one of those companies, you could add that to the list. Maybe Delta were another one of those companies. You could add that to the list. You can add as many as you need to if this is something that you need, and then select your geography and you'd be ready to go. You could then just produce those results by viewing them, and we'll give you those records. Otherwise, you don't need to select company name, or for that matter, legal name. You can search by those if need be, specifically for those, but otherwise, we'll always produce this for you. And the same is true with this executive information. We'll always produce this for you, but maybe you need to see records with an owner present. If that were the case, you could drive in just those records that have an owner and forego all the others that maybe either don't have that as a designated title or don't have a title at all, right? You could forego all those. So you get to make up your mind what this ultimately looks like. And I do like to point out, notice we have executive gender here, as well as this ethnicity. You will see under ownership here, we also have female, veteran-owned, and minority-owned businesses here as well. The reason this is separate is because we're getting this information from the Small Business Administration's PPP loans that these people have applied for and won. So if that would be a search that you would want to be able to do, know that you could come down here under ownership and do that as well. Keyword is usually the way that people will search the database, simply because they don't know the SIC codes or the NAICS codes, right? So why have to know those codes when I can just put in any kind of business that I'm looking for, whether that be restaurants, maybe hotels, maybe I'm looking for dry cleaners, maybe I'm looking for construction, maybe I'm looking for manufacturing, maybe I'm looking for nonprofits. Ashley, wink, wink, nod, nod. You could look for nonprofits and find out if there are other nonprofits that might be doing similar things like you are. So all depends on what your need might be. You get to call it whatever you'd like to, and then search for that. And I'll show you more of this in a second. We also give you the ability to use this major industry group, which is utilizing the SIC codes. And it was just how Uncle Sam had set these up. So they were given these various categories, right? And they associated these 2-digit numbers with those. Let's look at construction, for example. So I've got 15 through 17. If I click on this plus symbol, it will then give me a definition for each of those 2-digit codes. So this is kind of a stair-step approach, if you will. If I were interested in general contractors, I could select that plus symbol and it will give me more definition. And if I'm only looking at those types of businesses that would work with single family homes, I could click on that plus symbol, and now we've made it this much more granular. So instead of that 4-digit only, we now give you the ability to look at this from a 6-digit standpoint. And if you wanted just those companies that offer handyman services, bingo, I could do that. So you've probably all seen the commercials for Angie. Well, we're Angie Plus. So know that you could get to that kind of information if you needed to be that specific. So either one will get you there. Geography speaks for itself. I will show you this map tool. Phone speaks for itself. Number of employees, about 72% of our 17 million plus, almost 18 million verified records, about 72% of them will give us the number of employees that they have. Those that don't, we look at their peers in that area and we'll assign a range instead. So you'll always see this in each and every one of our records. And when you see an actual number, you just know that we got that in our phone call. If you see a range, know that we did not. They did not answer that question for whatever reason. Sales volumes, it's important you understand this. So if it's a private company, sales volume is always modeled. And we look at the business that they're in, or maybe types of business. They could be doing several things, right? Kind of like Walmart. We'll look at that. We'll look at how long they've been in business, the number of employees that they have, where they're physically located in business, right? Because we're going to allow for differences with taxes. And then lastly, we do get information through the Bureau of Labor Statistics in order to finalize that modeling. So just know private modeled, public coming from their 10K report. And then we give you lots of ways to look at this ownership. If you need, and I like to point this out, under headquarters and branch, we do have a couple of other listings, and those would be subsidiaries. So if you needed businesses that have a subsidiary located in maybe your area, you could certainly search it that way. Or if you needed single locations, this is a very popular search. So I like to point that out. So we give you that. Notice we do have home-based businesses. So if you choose that, you've got two options: only looking at those home-based businesses or excluding them from your search. Otherwise, if you don't select anything from home-based businesses and there are home-based businesses in that area that match your criteria, then they'll show up. Already mentioned the options with female and veteran and minority owned. We give you lots of ways to look at this financial data. Please understand that with business expenditures, and this is a popular filter as well, we'll give you these categories that you can search by. I did a program down in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, and a lady was really interested in how much money these companies spend on their insurance. Well, if you click on that plus symbol, it will give you these various ranges that you could select from or search from. So if I only wanted businesses that are spending $5,000 to $10,000 on insurance, I could certainly make that one of my drivers and then get those results. She was really excited about that because she sells insurance. So you can imagine. Special selects, we give you a variety of those. Notice there is nowhere here that mentions anything about email addresses. We do have email addresses. Those are sold separately. If that's something that you want, you can attend our webinar that talks specifically about how to and what to expect with that. So we do have web addresses, though, because I do know that in some cases, people want to do small little email campaigns and they want to be able to reach out to certain businesses. So what they'll do is they'll look to see if they can find an email address on their web address. So you could search for companies with web addresses. Notice you could search for companies based on social links they might be using. I do like to point out years in the database. Year established is not 100% fill rate. We don't have 100% of those filled in, but we know how long we've had those businesses in our database. So if you would like to use that, and you can use this, you can be creative. Maybe you don't want businesses that are 1 or 2 years old, but if they're 3 years or older, you'd want them. Perfect. You can do that. You can set it up to produce whatever kinds of results are important to you. So utilize those if they make sense for you. I do like to point out professionals all are one. We saw when we looked at St. Louis from an overall standpoint that there were lots of attorneys, lots of doctors. If you wanted to create a mailing list, and we know that people will use the database for those kinds of needs, if you'd like to create a mailing list, but you didn't want to reach every attorney in an office or maybe every doctor in an office, but rather one primary contact, you could change it from the all to one, and then you'll get fewer results, right? So that mailing that you're going to do will cost you less because you're not mailing to every professional that's in the database. Great way to be able to reduce that. And I do like to mention, this is a new ad. This is a new filter that we've added. So if mailing addresses are important to you, notice you could select, by putting a check mark next to that, include only records with a highly deliverable address. So Uncle Sam knows those businesses that pick up their mail versus those that don't, right? So if that would be a filter you'd want to use, so again, you can save money on that mailing, definitely take advantage of this. I love that this has been added. I think that's a game changer. So we talked about professionals, lots of ways to exclude information. I mentioned those ATMs and kiosks. If you did not want to include those kinds of records, you could exclude those from your search and never see them, right? You won't get them in your records. So if that's something that you would like to do, certainly feel free to do so. You could even choose to omit previously saved searches. The reason you might want to do that is to see those new records that have been added since you were last into that saved search. So great way to be able to do that. Any questions? Did any questions come in? I see there are some chats there. Anything I should address right now before I get started?
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat so far.
Okay, perfect. Let's do this. I promised. So here we go. I'm going to show you. I'm going to search restaurants simply because I know that from St. Louis area, there's a lot of them around there, right? You guys like to eat like we do here in Omaha. So I'll go with restaurants. I'll search for that. Every type of industry has that SIC code, as I mentioned. There's my all-inclusive for all restaurants. So that'd be the fine dining as well as the fast food. Now notice that's a 6-digit. We also have a 7-digit. So if you wanted to get to certain kinds of restaurants, you could do that using that 7-digit. Or we also have a 9-digit. So if you wanted to get to different chains of restaurants, you could do that as well. Just depends on what you might need. But this is my all-inclusive. So we'll do this and we'll do your entire county. I want to show you what this is going to look like. So of course we've got to get Mo first here, and then we'll go St. Louis. Oh, and there it is right there. Oop, Mo. And I want to update my count real quick. Again, this is my total number of verified records. So there are 2,264 restaurants across the county. I'm only looking at those that are verified. I do have unverifieds. Speaks for itself. It's just businesses that either were verified at one point in time and we couldn't reach them when we went to do our callback, or we never had them verified to begin with. Never, ever were able to get them verified. So we have that universe as well as that closed, but I'm only looking at those that are verified, and I'm looking at all SIC codes. And that's important to understand, because watch what happens when I tell the system, I only want to see those that their primary line of business is that of a restaurant. I'm going to change that up and let's see what this number becomes now. So it dropped it down to 1,700. So it took out businesses like bowling alleys, for example, that would have a little restaurant in there, but that's not why they're in business, right? They're in business because they're a bowling alley. So we took out all of those kinds of businesses. Could be a convenience store that has a few tables and they call that their restaurant area. We've taken them out of the mix. So I'm going to view my results. It could be that quick. Or I could say, you know what? I also need these restaurants to have a web address. I know plenty of businesses that also don't want them to have a web address because they want to sell them back, right? So of that 1724, how many of them have a web address? 1360. So if I wanted to get to that universe, I could certainly do so. There they are. I want to chart this again real quick, just to show you the difference. So I already told the system I'm only looking at this SIC code for restaurants, and I'm doing it across your county. So the first thing it's going to look at now, because it already knows the SIC code, is the city that I'm in. So there's my breakdown of the cities, and then of course my 2 pages worth of all the cities across St. Louis County. So great way again to be able to look at that. I could switch that up to the zip codes they're in, of course, those sales volumes, or the number of employees, right? Or I could use both of those factors. Maybe I want to use both sales volume and number of employees, and I could have done that from my advanced search screen and put in just certain numbers. Again, I get to author it the way I'd like. Again, that's printable or can be made part of a PowerPoint. So I have that view. And then I also have what we refer to as our heat map. This is a density map, and it's based against St. Louis County. So where you see that red, there are lots of those restaurants in those areas. Yellow, fewer, green, less. And of course, where you see any of these gaps, there aren't any restaurants in those areas. So understand that that's available to you as well. Again, SCORE or those small business development centers, they would have you including this information as well in your business plan. So we give you that kind of look. And of course, we'll give you this breakdown based against those zip codes in the area. And if I just want to get to this group of 71, again, I could do that. Just depends on what I might need. You can even alter the map if you would like to. Once you've altered it to the point where it's 300 or less records, let me do that real quick. I'll use my plus symbol down here in the lower right-hand corner, and I'll just start drilling in. So I'm going to drill into an area and look at what it does. Once I have fewer than 300 records, it will pinpoint that information, and it gives me this legend here on the side. So I can always identify or get to that kind of insight. So great way to be able to use the database for that as well. You can download this information. That's often a question. Bill, can I take this out? Can I grab this information and use it in my CRM or use it to make mailing labels, etc.? Absolutely, you can. And it will always say at the bottom of the page how many prints or downloads you could do at a time. So it's 250. If I wanted all these restaurants, I could put a check mark next to this company name, and it will grab all 25 records on that page, only that page. Then I need to advance by going to the right here, and I can select that again. So you can see I've got 50, there's my 75, and I can do that for 10 pages. I'll pretend that this is my 10th page. It's not though. I can select my download option. I can save that search, of course. But once I've selected my download, the first question I have to answer is, what file format do I want to use? Comma delimited is most popular simply because it's mailing label friendly. So if that's the route you want to go, definitely stick with that. Summary will include the name of the business, their address, phone number. It'll also give you that owner or manager's name, name and title. It'll give you number of employees, sales volumes, etc. You could get the entire record, which is a bit of overkill, or you could customize it. Maybe I want to customize it because I would like, and it's not listed here, I would like their web addresses included. If that's the case, then you can just start to key that in You can see there's my website. I can add that to the mix. And then I have the ability to email these records to myself and maybe a partner I'm working with, or I could simply do this download. And download will deliver it to you in this fashion. So there's my first 250, wink, wink. I only did 150, but you get the idea. So if you'd like to do that, you can certainly do so. If you wanted to add more to this list, you can't do it from my page. So what I would suggest is you open up your own version of Excel and then simply come up here to that cell between 1 and A, click there, and then copy all this information, put it on your own version of Excel. Then you would simply minimize yours. You would come back here to mine, close it. It will always leave you on this instructional page. All you need to do is select the word back. It will take you back to that last page that you were on. You do need to get rid of these check marks. Easiest way to do that is select revise search, but you don't actually change anything. You just view your results again. It's got my 1360 there. You view your results again, takes you back to page 1. All those check marks are gone. If I'd truly done 10 pages, I would put 11 in here and enter, and then I can get more of those records. I saw that Church's Chicken and I thought, did I change this to a church lookup? It's Church's Chicken. So you get the idea. You can select this. And this is true no matter we're in the business database, but if we were in the consumer lifestyles or the new movers, new homeowners, it would work the same way.
Hey, Bill, we had a question.
Oh, good.
Let's see, I'm sorry. Ashley asked if you want to use the charts you were showing earlier from Reference Solutions for a business plan, can you export the charts, or would we export the underlying data and build a chart in Excel?
No, you can export those charts. You can export it all, Ashley. It's no holes barred. You can take it all. Absolutely. So if I wanted to go right over to this chart function, I'll chart it real quick here again. So here's my breakdown based on the information that I'd selected, right? There's my city. If I want to export this chart, I could either print it off or I could make it part of a PowerPoint. So you get to do it in any way. If you didn't care about the city, but you only wanted those sales volumes because this was important to you, bingo, you can do that, right? Or you could do all of them, right? You could do all 4 of these, meaning city, zip, sales, and number of employees. Doesn't matter. You get to be your own author of your success. I just thought of that. So know that you can do that. I want to show you, does that answer any other questions pop up as a result of that?
Not so far. We're getting pretty close to time. We have to be out of here by 1:50. Did you want to leave room for questions, or did you want to use the last 5 minutes to show something else?
Let's do this. And anybody can attend any of my webinars. So, if there's more that you would like to learn, it's available, right? Let's see if there are any questions, and if not, I'll show one other thing. Okay, let's do this real quick. I want to show you a record, and I'll use, oops, it was on page 2. What was I thinking? I'll use Arby's for this example. So notice we do have this corporate tree information. So the up arrow will take you to one record and one record only. So if you needed to understand the structure of a company, you could do that here, or this shows you the entire company's structure. And I'm going to open up this record so you can see what the record looks like, and where you can also get that corporate tree information is right here. So every record is going to be set up just like this. We're going to have this location information here at the top. We're going to have those job openings. We're going to have that industry profile. So there's that SIC code for all restaurants. In this case, we have a business profile. Won't have this on every record, but where we have that, I would definitely encourage you to take advantage of that insight. We would have Google Maps embedded in here because we have the latitude and longitude in the background. We have the business demographics. So they told us they had 20 employees, and they did that in November of last year. So this coming November, another month, we'll call them back and see if any of this has changed, right? Because that number of employees does go into this magic number. We know in this case, the parent company is actually this Rourke Capital Group. It's a private equity firm out of Atlanta. So I have those business demographics, that management information, company news. So we'll always give you that. Some business expenditures along with some of that historical information, including historical years. And then we have any UCC filings. So if they took out a loan and put something up as collateral, that would be captured there. I have the nearby businesses. And then, of course, last but not least would be a list of competitors. And I would add, Ashley, since you were interested in competition, we would not have competitors for nonprofits. We don't list competitors for nonprofits. But no, you can take advantage of all that insight. And I do want to show you this corporate tree real quick. And there's my Rourke Capital Group who owns Arby's. There's that Arby's in Brentwood, Mo. And if you want to see these other 46 branches, you can simply collapse that and look at all those companies that you probably recognize in your very own communities, right? Dunkin' Donuts, they have Dunkin's everywhere, it seems like these days. Buffalo Wild Wings, there's Baskin Robbins, Jimmy John's. They're all part of Rourke Capital Group. In fact, they just added this company about a year ago now. 2 Men and a Truck. It's a moving company. So we'll call that good. Any questions?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat, but this was really great, Bill. Thank you so much for going over all of this.
Absolutely. You know, there's just a wealth of information. It's really easy. You can't crash the system. It's not like driving your car down the street. There's no icy conditions, wet roads, anything like that. If you should get stuck, all you have to do is click on Reference Solutions. This is my main navigation. It would bring you right back here to the homepage. It clears out everything, and then you can go back to whatever module you were working in and start again.
Wonderful. And if anyone should like one-on-one support from your library, we do offer the Book a Librarian service so that you can meet with one of the reference librarians for an hour. We will go through all of this with you or answer any possible questions you may have related to your own work. Okay, everyone. Well, if there are no questions, thank you so much, Bill. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.